-$28,450. That was the alert on my phone screen. A second later, I saw why. My brother posted a photo clinking champagne in business class with the caption, "Dubai calling. Bye-bye, peasants." My father didn't just cancel the surgery I needed to save my athletic career. He emptied my entire trust fund to pay for a vacation. Before I tell you exactly how I turned that luxury vacation into a one-way ticket to a jail cell, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I want to see how far this story travels. I sat there in the dark, the blue light of the phone screen illuminating the ice pack strapped to my knee. My name is Jolie, and I'm 24 years old. I'm a hurdler. My entire life is built on rhythm, on knowing exactly when to jump and when to sprint. But looking at that negative balance, I realized I'd missed the starting gun. 3 days ago, I was sitting in Dr. Aris's office. The air smelled like antiseptic and bad news. He told me the surgery to fix my knee, the only thing standing between me and a wheelchair by age 30, would cost $12,500 after insurance deductions. I looked at my father, Robert. He didn't even blink. He adjusted his silk tie and said, "We just don't have the liquidity right now, honey. You're strong. You'll heal naturally." Liquidity. That was the word he used. Like my ability to walk was a stock option he decided not to exercise. He lied to my face without a tremor in his voice. He told me we were broke while he was booking the royal suite at the Atlantis. He thought because I was his daughter, I would just accept the pain. He forgot that hurdlers don't stop when they hit a barrier. We go over it. I tapped on the transaction detail on my banking app. It wasn't a wire transfer. It wasn't a digital hack. It was a scanned image of a physical withdrawal slip from a branch downtown. I zoomed in. There was my name, Jolie, scrawled at the bottom. But the loop on the J was wrong. The slant was too steep. It was my father's handwriting trying to be mine. He had walked into a bank, looked a teller in the eye, and forged my signature to steal $28,000 from the educational trust my mother left me. I didn't call him. I didn't text Henry to ask how the champagne tasted. I dialed the number on the back of my debit card and pressed 0 until I got a human. When the fraud specialist answered, I didn't use the word dad or family. I kept my voice flat, like a judge reading a sentence. "I am reporting a case of international identity theft," I said. "I am looking at a withdrawal slip with a forged signature, and the funds are currently being spent across state lines." The operator asked if I wanted to file a formal claim. "Yes," I said. "And I want to flag the account for signature mismatch." The operator didn't ask for a sob story. She didn't ask why a father would rob his own daughter. She simply typed a few keys and said 8 words that sounded like music. "The accounts are frozen pending a federal investigation." Click. The line went dead, and the silence rushed back into my apartment. This is the moment where most people would have picked up the phone again. I wanted to call Robert. I wanted to scream at him until my throat bled. To tell him I knew what he did. To hear the panic in his voice when he realized his credit cards were nothing more than colorful scraps of plastic. But I didn't dial. I put the phone down on the table, and I waited. In track, the amateur rushes the jump. They see the barrier coming and they panic, taking off a half step too early. They clip the bar, they lose their rhythm, and they crash. The professional knows that the most dangerous part of the race isn't the hurdle itself. It's the stride right before it. You have to be patient. You have to let the momentum build until the absolute last second. If I called my father now, he might still be at the airport. He might still have cash in his wallet. He might be able to spin a lie to a manager or use a backup card I didn't know about. I didn't want him inconvenienced. I wanted him trapped. I needed him to feel safe. I needed him to walk into the trap, close the door, and lock it from the inside. I opened Instagram again. Henry's story had a new update. A video. The camera panned across a marble lobby with pillars that looked like they were made of solid light. The Atlantis. He tagged the location with a crown emoji. Then came the room tour. The royal suite. I watched as he filmed the view of the Palm Jumeirah, the ocean glittering below them like a carpet of diamonds. "Check-in complete," he yelled over the music. "Dad got us the upgrade. This is how we live now." I watched him zoom in on a room service cart rolling into the suite. There were sliders made of Wagyu beef. There was a tower of seafood on ice. There was a cappuccino sprinkled with actual, edible gold flakes. I looked down at my own dinner. A piece of toast that had gone cold and a glass of tap water. The contrast wasn't just painful. It was clarifying. They weren't just spending my money. They were eating my future. Every bite of that Wagyu was a physical therapy session I wouldn't get. Every sip of that gold coffee was a month of rent I couldn't pay. I let the video loop. I watched them eat. I watched Robert laugh, holding up a glass of wine that probably cost more than my first car. Eat up, I thought. Order the dessert. Empty the minibar. Get comfortable in those Egyptian cotton sheets. Because you aren't paying for that room with my money anymore. You're paying for it with your freedom. And the bill is going to be much higher than you think. I turned off the screen, adjusted the ice on my knee, and settled in for the long wait. The race had started. But I wasn't running. I was just watching them dig the hole deep enough that they could never climb out. It took exactly 24 hours for the fantasy to collide with reality. I was sitting on my couch, leg propped up, watching the sun track across the floorboards. My phone started vibrating on the coffee table. It wasn't a text this time. It was a FaceTime call, from Robert. I let it ring 3 times before I answered. I wanted him to sweat. When I finally tapped the green button, the image that filled my screen was chaotic. The camera was shaking. I saw marble floors, gold leaf pillars, and my father's face, red and slick with perspiration. He wasn't lounging by the pool anymore. He was standing in the lobby of the Atlantis, and he looked like a man who was drowning. "Jolie!" he shouted. The audio clipped because he was holding the phone too close to his mouth. "What did you do? The card isn't working. I tried to pay for the dinner and the deposit, and the machine declined it. They said the account is frozen." "Hello to you too, Dad," I said. My voice was calm. It was the only calm thing in the conversation. "Don't get smart with me," he hissed, glancing nervously over his shoulder. I could see a man in a suit standing behind him. The hotel manager. Arms crossed. Face unamused. "Fix this. Now. Call the bank. Tell them to authorize the charges. We are standing here like criminals." "You are criminals," I thought, but I didn't say it yet. "The manager is threatening to call the police," Robert continued, his voice rising an octave. "Do you know what they do to people who don't pay their debts in Dubai? This isn't America, Jolie. They throw you in jail. They keep you there until you pay. You are putting your family in danger." He was screaming at me for ruining the vacation he stole from me. It was breathtaking. Then the camera jerked. Henry grabbed the phone. His face was twisted in a sneer that looked ugly under the fluorescent lobby lights. "Stop being such a jealous brat," he spat. "Just because you're stuck at home walking funny doesn't mean you have to ruin this for us. We know you're mad about the knee thing, okay? Get over it. You're embarrassing yourself." He mocked my limp. He mocked the injury they caused. I looked at their faces on the screen. Panic and entitlement. It's a dangerous combination. There is a specific kind of delusion that happens to people who live off others. Psychologists call it the delusion of dependency. They don't view the host's blood as a gift. They view it as their right. When you cut the supply, they don't feel guilt or gratitude for what they already took. They feel robbed. They feel like the victim. Robert and Henry didn't see the $28,000 as my surgery money. They saw it as their money that I was unfairly withholding. They weren't scared because they had done something wrong. They were scared because the universe had suddenly stopped obeying their commands. "Fix the glitch, Jolie," Henry yelled. "Call the bank right now or I swear to God." "Put Dad back on," I said. Robert's face reappeared. He was wiping sweat from his forehead with a sleeve that probably cost more than my rent. "Jolie, please. Just call them. Unlock it. We can talk about the money later." They still thought they were in charge. They thought this was a technical error, a misunderstanding, a tantrum I was throwing. They didn't realize they weren't the customers anymore. They were the prey. "I can't just unlock it, Dad," I said, pitching my voice to sound helpful, scared, and compliant. "It's not a glitch. The bank doesn't think it's a mistake, Dad," I said, letting my voice tremble just enough to sound terrified. "They think it's a crime ring." "What are you talking about?" Robert snapped, though his eyes darted to the hotel manager again. "Just tell them it was authorized." "I tried," I shouted back, matching his panic with a manufactured hysteria of my own. "I've been on the phone with them for an hour. The algorithm flagged the transaction because of the signature mismatch on the withdrawal slip. They don't think you stole the money, Dad. They think I am laundering money through you." I paused, letting that sink in. Narcissists are predictable. If you tell them they are in trouble, they get defensive. But if you tell them you are in trouble, they get curious. They get superior. "Laundering?" he repeated, the anger replaced by confusion. "Yes," I lied. "Because the amount was just under the federal reporting limit for international wires, they think we are structuring payments to avoid taxes. They froze the account to investigate me. The fraud officer said they are going to seize the funds for 90 days pending a full federal audit." 90 days? Robert's face went gray. "I don't have 90 days, Jolie. I don't have 90 minutes. They are going to arrest me." "I know, Dad. I know," I said, putting on the performance of a lifetime. I asked them how to stop it. The officer said the only way to cancel the federal investigation is if we can prove this is a domestic civil matter, not a criminal one. I have to prove the money wasn't laundered. I have to prove it was a loan. I saw the gears turning in his head. He was doing the math. If the money was seized, he was stuck in a Dubai prison. If he admitted it was a loan, the money would be released. He could pay the hotel bill, and in his mind he would just default on the loan later. He thought he was finding a loophole. He thought he was going to get away with it. Okay, he said, breathless. Okay, tell them it's a loan. Tell them right now. I can't just tell them, I said. They need a paper trail. They need a dated, written record from you acknowledging receipt of the funds. They need to see that there was an agreement before the transaction cleared. Fine. I'll write it down. No. Text it to me, I commanded, my voice sharpening just a fraction. Text me right now. You have to use these exact words so the algorithm clears it. Right. I borrowed the $28,000 from your UTMA account. Send that to me, and I can show it to the fraud officer immediately. He's on the other line. Robert hesitated. For a split second, the lifelong con artist in him recognized the danger of putting a confession in writing. He looked at the phone, then at the hotel manager, who was now tapping his watch and signaling to a security guard. The fear of immediate humiliation outweighed the fear of future consequences. That is the weakness of people who live for appearances. They will burn down their future to save their face in the present. I'm sending it, he growled. But you fix this, Jolie. If I spend 1 minute in a cell, I will never forgive you. Just send the text, Dad, I said, and I'll take care of everything. He hung up. The screen went black. I stared at the phone, my heart hammering against my ribs, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of the hunt. He thought he was signing a receipt to unlock his free vacation. He didn't realize he was signing his own confession. I didn't blink. I just watched the 3 little dots appear on the screen, bouncing up and down, writing the final chapter of his destruction. The text message arrived with a soft ping, the sound of a guillotine blade hitting the block. I, Robert, took the $28,000 from the UTMA account as a family loan. I stared at the words. He had typed it out. He had hit send. He genuinely believed this was the magic incantation that would turn the lights back on in his luxury suite. He thought he was playing along with my game, helping me dodge a laundering investigation so he could get back to his gold flake cappuccinos. He didn't realize he had just handed me the smoking gun. I didn't call the bank to unlock the card. I didn't call Robert back. I took a screenshot of the text. Then I opened my email and hit forward on a draft I had prepared 10 minutes ago. The recipient wasn't the customer service desk. It was the fraud investigator assigned to my case number. Supplemental evidence, I typed. Suspect admits to unauthorized removal of funds. This confirms the signature on the withdrawal slip was forged to bypass custodial transfer protocols. This is misappropriation of fiduciary funds. Send. That text message turned a banking error into a felony. It proved intent. He knew the money wasn't his. Once he admitted moving it across borders, the bank didn't just freeze the account. They erased it. Everything unraveled at once. The hotel deposit reversed. The room charge voided. Dinner declined. Then the airline tickets purchased with funds now flagged as stolen were automatically canceled. I watched 2 business class tickets flip from pending to canceled. They weren't just broke in Dubai. They were stranded. I finally ate. I finally slept. By morning, Henry's Instagram fantasy was gone. Deleted stories, erased champagne, silence. That afternoon, he posted a desperate selfie from a crowded airport terminal. Designer luggage piled around him. Hotel kicked us out. Banking error. Trapped at DXB. Anyone know how to wire cash to the UAE? Urgent. In the background, Robert was slumped against a pillar, arguing with security, small, sweaty, exposed. The man who once mocked my liquidity was sleeping on an airport floor, begging strangers for money. I didn't respond. I went to physical therapy. My knee hurt, but it was healing pain. At 2:14 a.m., the nightmare came home. My banking app showed declined charges at JFK. They had made it back desperate, humiliated, and angry. The pounding on my door was violent. Robert screamed my name. I didn't answer. I grabbed my cane and moved, but not fast enough. He tried the spare key. The deadbolt held. I'd changed the locks when I reported the fraud. Kick it down, he ordered. The door shook. Then came the clang of metal. He was using a fire extinguisher. I retreated to the bedroom, the reinforced safe room I once thought was paranoia. The front door splintered. Furniture crashed. They weren't here to talk. They were here to take by force. I started the live stream. I'm in here, I shouted. The police are on their way. Henry screamed insults and smashed the bedroom door. It bowed inward. When it finally burst open, Henry charged, wild-eyed, extinguisher raised. I fired the pepper gel. He collapsed instantly, screaming, blinded. Robert froze. The laser sight settled on his forehead. On the ground, I said. He obeyed. Not because of the weapon, but because he saw the live stream. There was no story left to spin. The sirens arrived minutes later. They were arrested for breaking and entering, assault, and thanks to that Dubai text, grand larceny. Evidence wasn't just strong. It was undeniable. I didn't visit them. I scheduled my surgery. 6 months later, I walked unassisted by the river. No pain, just movement. The lawyer's email confirmed it. Robert took a plea deal. His assets were liquidated. The house was sold to restore the trust he stole. He lost the money. He lost the house. He lost me. A text came from an aunt, asking how I could do this to family. I didn't reply. I blocked the number, standing by the river, breathing cold, clean air. I realized something simple. I had my leg. I had my money. And for the first time in my life, I had peace. The race was over. And I won.